Okay, so I saw that most of you already know RxJava. Well, this was the question I was wondering as soon as they told me that there would have been some breaking changes within RxJava 2. Well, it turns out there weren't a few breaking changes. It was like a huge breaking change. Like everything was changed. So I was like, oh, how am I going to do with that? So I was like, oh, maybe we are doomed. So we have to stay with RxJava 1 until it dies. And hopefully, also the project will die. So I'm good. I mean, it's OK for me. But, well, looks like we are not doomed. Because we can use RxJava 1 and RxJava 2 at the same time. Okay, this felt a bit strange at the beginning, because I was like, how am I supposed to do that? I mean, when they changed retrofit, was almost easy to change everything from retrofit to retrofit 2. And knowing that most of the work was being done by the same person, was like, I don't know. But still, let's see what changed and how we can change our code from RxJava 1 to RxJava 2. So the first thing is that line. So I guess you all recognize this line, right? So you wrote it at least 300 million times, right? I personally forget at least all this part. I remember this. And then it's usually older. But, well, so what they changed in this part is everything. So we switched from io.reactivex to io.reactivex.rxjava 2. So this is not a big deal. I mean, we can rename artifacts easily. It's not that hard. I mean, it's just a line. But then other changes popped out. Like, for instance, this one. So we are used to choose between this one and the standard Java 1. How many of you, by mistake, imported the wrong one? Yeah, I did. Yeah, actually, I do it all the time. I don't know why IntelliJ didn't understand that I don't want to use the Java version. It's not reactive. Stop doing that. I mean, it's more or less the same, but no. Please, no. So the first thing they did is actually, oh, here I am, going to this. So I was like, oh, man, they just changed the package. So it might not be that hard. Oh, well, nope. It was a whole new object. So we still have this one here, and we have this one here. So what we're going to do is not just deleting an import and changing it, because most probably our chain will break. Because this is how they manage to give us the opportunity to have RxJava 1 and RxJava 2 at the same time. So we can keep on using this one, and everything will work in the same way. We can switch to this one, and everything breaks. Because now, the operators don't return the same thing. We see later that they will return other things. And honestly, I don't really know why. But, well, I know why. Because they had to manage with a huge problem that we are aware of. It's like the big elephant in this room. And as soon as we meet it, I'm pretty sure that we all recognize it. So I just noticed that here, actually, I have a typo. Because this one should have been a function. Oh, no. No, actually, they moved the functions so that we can keep on having actually the same root, but they are different again. So we have them here now, and when it starts with Rx, they are the old ones. Actually, it's not really needed that they changed packaging this time, because now we know that we can find the new one here, but actually this is what we are used to, right? So we know that everything that is func n is RxJava 1. But now we have to use this for RxJava 2. So we change it from func to function. So it's not really needed to change package, but once more, this is how they did it. So they took all the RxJava 1 and put it inside RxJava 2, so that we can break our code in two different ways. So I'm OK with that, because I really love RxJava 2. But there are some moments in my life in which I don't really know why I chose that path. But still, I guess at least one of you can relate to this. So now our functions don't really have this call method that I liked, but now they have this apply method. What changes? Actually, nothing. For the functions, what changes is just renaming. So if you're not using retrolambda, you may need to rewrite all the signatures of your functions from this one to this one. But it's not a big deal, right? So here we have the changes, right? From func to function, and from call to apply. But actually, it's not just that, because here I mentioned just function. So someone would expect that, for instance, func2 can be converted into function2, right? Well, nope. Because now we have this beautiful b function. It took me at least 5 minutes to understand that this and this were the same thing. But I can see the logic. But then we go back to the old one. So what we have here is func1 and function, func2 and b function, func3 and function3. It's kind of confusing, right? Or at least I'm confused. But, well, we only talk about function. But still, we need something for when we subscribe. Like, because as of now, our chain wouldn't really do anything. There is nobody listening, so let's see how it works with subscribers. So everyone recognizes this, right? No. So this one is the object that we create when we want to subscribe. So here we have this action 1. In the onNext, we get the data that we want. OK? Because we have more actions, like we have action 0, action 1, and a few others that they wrote, and well, by hand. Well, I guess it took quite a lot to write all that stuff, but still. But then we don't really use these anymore. So what we use actually is this one. So we are from the action 1 to consumer, and from call to accept. Of course, they kept the generic, because that was the easy part. But still, imagine that you are writing all your code and suddenly decide that you want to move to RxJava 2. We already found two differences that could break our code base in no time. At least it broke ours. For a few minutes, OK, but still, it broke it. So we would expect that action 0 could be a consumer 0, right? So who will say that action 0 is a consumer 0 or something like that? Nobody? Oh, come on. Really? So let's see. you can switch the slide now. OK. So, nope. It's not that. Because they thought that actually accepting something was not good enough to explain what this object should be doing. So they decided to do this. So we went to consumer, and then we went back to action. So again, still confusing for me. But still, it's manageable, right? So going back to our base type, we are used to this one, right? Everyone knows this. So we know that this one is the root of all our evils, right? And this is what we are used to with RxJava. But with RxJava 2, something changed. Because we don't really have only the observable, but we also have this strange guy here. And there's a reason for that. So let's see why we have two and why they are different. Okay? So from the documentation, they say that we shall use the observable when we have fewer elements, so that we can't really go out of memory. OK, I can understand that. But then something weird. Like we shall use it for GUI and touch events. This is strange. But, well, maybe we can understand it better when we look at the other strange guy that was there. And then there is this synchronous flow. Like, what is this? I guess it's like reading from a file or something like that. Yeah, we can say that. But let's wait and see what is the other guy doing. So we can understand maybe why they divided those two elements. OK? OK, so no, because the input-output is here. So it's not that. And it says, though, that we can have more than 10K elements. So why do we have two? I mean, still, I'm confused. I don't know why we have two of these. I mean, I was already struggling with just one. And now they put two? Oh, man, I don't know. I can cope with this. No, I don't know. So we have one that is the observable and one that is the flowable. One shall be used when we have fewer elements, and the other one when we have more. So why do you think that we have two? So no hands raised? OK, maybe we'll discover it later, or maybe not. I don't know. I didn't do these slides, so I don't know. Just winging it. So let's try and see other two elements. Maybe they can help us understand a bit better why all these changes. So those two guys were introduced in a later version of RxJava. They didn't ship with the version 1.0.0. So who knows what is the difference between those two? Nobody? Come on. Someone? Nobody never used? OK, you use them, right?
Yes, but I just guess. I think that one is not completable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. This one emits the onNext and the other one the onComplete. So that here we get, well, they both actually complete in some way. But here we get a result somehow, and here we don't. But still, it's not really related on how the observable and the flowable worked. I mean, we had observable, single, and completable in RxJava 1. And now we have observable, flowable, single, completable, and maybe. So here we have a single that can emit on next or on error, completable that can complete or go on error, and then we have this one. Okay, this one is somehow the union of the other two. And this one can emit any of those methods. So we are not sure which one will be called. This is the contract. What it says on the documentation, though, is that if this one that is our on next is called, then the other two are not called. Otherwise, if nothing is emitted, this one will be called. So this is kind of confusing again, also because most of operators now actually return maybe. It's worth noting, though, that single has been rewritten from scratch, so that now we don't have the on next anymore, we have the on success. And it makes sense, because then it can be used, well, I use it more for network requests. I don't really need to know that the request is completed. I need to know if it succeeded or not. So I'm OK with that, because, again, most of the operators returns this. So when we migrate from RxJava to RxJava 2, we will see that most of the operators that we might have used now are not returning observable anymore. They may be returning single or maybe. And those are the major breaking changes in RxJava 2. So our chains are not the same anymore. I mean, renaming functions or actions to consumer and functions, it's not a big of a deal. When the data types start changing, well, it starts being a big of a deal. Because we have to refactor all our code and change the way we are thinking, because we are expecting observables, but we are actually getting singles or maybe. Of course, everything is documented on the GitHub website. But, I mean, I guess that there are at least a few operators that you are most used of, well, two. And you will be surprised when they change their behavior, right? So why they made these changes? Well, the reason is the elephant in the room. This one, elephant in the room. That means that we cannot consume all the events that are being produced. That's why we have flowable and observables, because observables don't manage the back pressure anymore. Well, they weren't doing a great job anyway, so I'm OK with that. While flowable have full support for back pressure. So if you ever had an issue with back pressure, well, flowable is the way to go. So we might want to see how we created observables, because, well, we were used to observable.just. Well, OK, they didn't change that. Observable.just works exactly in the same way. So don't you worry. The changes, though, are here. So what does this .from do? Again, no hand raised. Nobody ever used observable.from? Come on. OK.
You can create observable from some collection.
OK. Or from arrays. Or from iterables, right? But you have to use just one method, so maybe you get confused. So now you have three. So now you have three different methods based on what you want to use. If any of you use Kotlin, and you're trying to emit an array, remember the spread operator. It took me at least 3 hours to understand why my vector was emitted as a single item. I was like, why is not emitting correctly? Yeah, looks like I forgot the spread operator and I couldn't see it. So, well, it happens. But then, who remembers the observable.create? So we actually don't really use it in RxJava 1, right? Because we were told it was not safe for back pressure, right? So we were trying to do everything else but using this method here. Well, it looks like that's now safe. How is it even possible? I mean, it wasn't safe earlier, and now it's safe. Well, yes, because it's just this guy here. It has been renamed so that we can use a familiar syntax to create an observable from scratch. So we can wrap our callbacks into this guy here instead of using that guy there. So again, it's a bit confusing, right? Because we were told that with RxJava 1, we couldn't use observable.create, but now we can. So it's strange, but yeah, this is why. Because now, without the support for back pressure, we don't need to worry about that. Because we have Flowable that will help us managing the back pressure. So, if you want to read the full documentation, is here. And if you want to instead watch videos about this, there is Castor.io. If you don't know it, it's a website where people make video about Android. So I didn't really try the presentation, so I was guessing it was half an hour. And I'm mostly good with the timing. So I usually put this slide, but here it's not needed because I can see if there are any questions. So are there any questions? No? Well, let's see if there are. No, there are no questions. So, no, wait, it's refreshing. No, there are no questions. So do you have any questions? No, you can tell them now. I mean, should have typed it earlier.
I have a question.
Yeah, let me just move this one somewhere. You can see it. Okay.
My question is, why isn't there just a flowable?
Because for many reasons, we don't always need back pressure. Like for instance, when you have touch events, like with Rx bindings, the library that takes care of all the UI events and transform them into observables, because there can't be back pressure. You can't reasonably be that fast. And also, all the pipeline can't be rendered that fast. So we are not going out of memory when we're clicking on a button. So the flowable is heavier than the observable, so they decided to keep them both. Honestly, I would have switched them so that we kept on using observable for the stuff that actually RxJava is really useful for. But that's the reason why we have them both. So we have one question there, and nice. So other questions? Yeah.
I thought that one of the main breaking changes between RxJava 1 and the second one is around subscriptions, that there's some big changes there. And so is there something?
Yes, actually I didn't put it there because it depends on how you use RxJava. A lot of people use Rx Lifecycle from Trello so that they don't care about the subscription. So now all our subscribers return a disposable so that you can manage them in an easy way. So before RxJava 2, you could create like an array of subscriptions and put everything there. Now you have a disposable pool, and you can dispose them all at once. So it's safer, but I didn't put in the slides because it depends on how you use RxJava. So if you don't have a long-running subscription, you wouldn't really notice this change. So that's why I didn't put it there. But that's a good question. Another question.
Okay, so I understood that you can use the first RxJava and the second one at the same time. But did you try to, for example, when you have some old library, or almost every library right now that emits observables from RxJava 1, is it possible to transform somehow in the middle of the chain from the old observable to the new one? Or?
As far as I know, there is a toFlowable method, so that you are safer. Because since the old observable had the way to manage back pressure, it makes sense that you can only go to flowable. And so, by using some operators that take care of the back pressure for you, you can then change to observable. But yeah, it takes a little bit to do that. Other questions? No questions? Okay.
You show us that observable from thing, and my question is, if you're coding, how do you test, or how did you eventually discover that you did this mistake?
I didn't understand the question. I'm sorry.
That you show us that observable from a method,
Mm-hmm.
and you, as I remember, you said something that you had some problem and you were stuck in this problem for 3 hours.
Yep.
So how did you eventually discover that it was this mistake? What
Uh,
method are you using? Any testing or?
No, because the problem was that while I was writing the chain, I found out that actually my Kotlin code was emitted like an array of elements. Then I tried like in different ways, because I could have just gone and read the documentation, like this is how you use an array in Kotlin. But since I'm stubborn, I tried to change the array in many ways. So I tried to use a collection. I tried to use a mutable collection. After a while, my colleague came and said, yeah, why are you not using the spread operator? This is how we solve the issue. Because someone told me that I could have read the documentation. So this is how, because I couldn't really making it right, emit what I wanted. So I couldn't really even make the first test pass. So that was the problem. But again, this is not something due to RxJava, something due to the fact that I wasn't paying attention to the documentation. So, any other question? No? So the 3 guys here gets the figure, since they are the only 3 getting the questions. So thank you. And I leave it to my colleague that will be talking about iOS.